I just bought a Roland D-50. For years, I overlooked the instrument because I assumed it was just a rompler like the Korg M1. But it has several features like pulse width modulation that ordinary sample playback instruments don't have. I'll go into the details of how the patches are designed, which is never covered by the bubblegum chewers. I'll compare some patches on the D-70 to the D-50 so you can hear the difference between the two instruments. I was concerned that the patches of the D-50 could be organized as on the D-70. The way the patches are organized as independent tones makes the D-70 a headache to work with. Since a tone can be assigned to more than one patch, if you change a tone in one patch, unknowingly make another patch sound wrong. Plus, you need to save each tone that makes up a patch. So if you have a patch with 4 tones, you need to save each step. Ugh. But fortunately, the D-50 is like most other vintage synths. When you save a patch, the 4 oscillators that make up the patch are saved together. My D-70 suffers from the red glue issue. Roland used red glue to hold metal weights under the keys of several instruments, including the D-50 and the D-70. After years, the glue could deteriorate, causing the weights to fall into the keyboard and blocking the sensors, which this makes the synth unplayable. But the internal electronics of this D-70 work fine, so I'll be using a MIDI connection to the D-50 to trigger its sounds. This is the first patch of the D-50, the famous Fantasia. I can use the joystick to control the volume balance between the 2 oscillators. When I move it up, you'll hear the pad sound. And when I move it down, you'll hear the bell. The D-70 does have the samples for this patch, so I was able to get it close. And again, most of the keys don't work except for the lowest key, this low note, so I'm triggering it from the D-50. So this is how it sounds on the D-70. Now I can switch it back and forth. This is how it sounds on the original D-50. However, I did notice that the sample of the bell the loop is wobbly. So this is how the bell by itself sounds without I turned the effects off so it's more noticeable. This is the D-50. And then this is the D-70 sample. It's much more wobbly. The patch I remember the best is the Pizzagogo that Enya used for Orinoco Flow. I'll play it a bit different to avoid copyright issues. I think Enya may have changed the balance. The original balance between the sets of oscillators was a balance of 60, but I brought it up to 76. The D-70 does have a Pitts sample, but it's really different than the D-50. And I had to use the pizzicato strings off of the SN5 strings card. And this is what I got. Now I'll compare it, I'll bring up the volume of the D-50 and then bring down the D-70. So this is how it sounded on the original D-50. And here is on the D-70 again. This is a slow rotary organ on the D-50. Now I'll compare it to the Click Leslie on the D-70. Now I'll play a couple quick arpeggios so you can hear this. This is the D-50. I noticed with the D-50, the organ is constructed with 4 oscillators of simple waveforms. Now on the D-70, you have a sample, a long sample with a Leslie effect, and it becomes obvious when you play through the key map range. Because the D-50 is using smaller waveforms, you don't have that issue of noticeable changes in the key maps. This is the horn section on the D-50. And here's the horn section on the D-70. I think my favorite factory patch is the glass voices. Okay, and I tried to duplicate it on the D-70, and this is what I came up with. The D-50 has pulse width modulation, which was impossible to recreate on the D-70 because you can't modulate the width of a pulse wave. So that's one advantage I discovered in when I was trying to recreate the patch from on the D-70. I noticed that the D-50 has more spectrum waveforms. It's actually got 7, and the D-70 only has 2. So that's another limitation on the D-70. When I found that the D-50 has a nice piano that'd be great for house music. Now I'll compare it to the piano on the D-70. On the D-50 it was actually an octave higher, the way it was assigned, so I'd have to play it down here. What I can say is the D-50, I'll switch it around, it's weak in the lower range. The D-70's got a better lower range. So I would use it for our... The D-70 probably would be better for ballads. I noticed that the D-50 has samples assigned an octave too high. It's a pain in the neck if you already have a sequence already made. So I'm going to be designing a set of patches for it, and they will be optimized for using modern gear. Now that I have the D-50, I'm going to try to sell my D-70 and fix the red glue issue and put it on consignment at Rogue. I really don't need the D-70 since I already have an MV30, which has the same sampled waveforms. And I actually programmed patches for it. I'll have to sell them on floppy disks because the format of this is proprietary, so computers won't recognize disks that are formatted in this instrument. So until the next time, take care.